Transformation waits for you not in new methods, but in ancient stories. Your path to profound personal reinvention has already been mapped by heroes who walked it millennia ago. We are about to uncover 21 precise blueprints for change hidden within the world's greatest heroic sagas. These are not just old tales. They are coded instructions for overcoming modern adversity, finding your purpose, and reshaping your identity from the inside out. By the end of this journey, you will possess a complete mythological toolkit to navigate any life transition with clarity and courage. What secret did Odysseus know about navigating uncertainty that we have forgotten? How did Gilgamesh's failed quest for immortality actually reveal the secret to a meaningful life? We will explore how these ancient patterns offer direct solutions to contemporary struggles. What part of your own life feels most in need of a heroic transformation right now? Every hero's journey begins not in a moment of triumph, but in a quiet whisper of discontent. That first crucial blueprint is the hero's departure, the decision to embrace a call to adventure when it arrives. Think of Frodo Baggins in his cozy hobbit hole, content with his simple life until a wizard shows up with a ring and a world-shattering responsibility. He did not want to leave the safety of the Shire or consider the Greek hero Theseus, who volunteered to sail to Crete and face the monstrous Minotaur, not because he was fearless, but because his people needed a savior. In both cases, the call arrived as a disruption, an invitation to leave a comfortable but ultimately unfulfilling ordinary world. The mythologist Joseph Campbell famously observed that the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. He was not just talking about physical caves, he meant the psychological boundaries we build around ourselves, the comfortable routines and safe identities that keep us from growing. The call to adventure is that mysterious messenger, whether it arrives as a sudden job offer, a health wake-up call, or a deep, internal yearning for something more. What invitation are you currently resisting? Is there a conversation you are afraid to have, a skill you have been meaning to learn, or a dream you have shelved for a later that never seems to come? This first blueprint teaches us that personal reinvention does not begin with a grand plan or absolute confidence. It starts with a single, courageous yes. It is the willingness to step away from the familiar shore, even when the distant land is not yet in sight. This initial commitment sets everything in motion, and it immediately raises a vital question. Once you have said yes to the call, who will stand with you? That courageous yes echoes into the void, and the universe answers. A lone traveler deep in shadowy woods feels a profound and unsettling solitude. Just as despair begins to tighten its grip, a figure steps from the gloom, not as a threat but as a guide. This is the second blueprint, the arrival of supernatural aid. No hero in any saga ever succeeds completely alone. At the pivotal moment, a mentor appears, offering the precise tools and wisdom needed for the road ahead. King Arthur did not simply find a sword in a stone. He received the legendary Excalibur from the Lady of the Lake, a mystical figure who emerged from the waters to bestow a power he was destined to wield. Luke Skywalker was just a farm boy until the seemingly benign old hermit, Obi-Wan Kenobi, revealed himself as a Jedi Knight and ignited the first spark of the Force within him. These guides are not there to complete the journey for the hero, but to equip them for their own trials. The ancient philosopher Plutarch captured this perfectly when he wrote that the mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. A true mentor does not simply hand you answers, they strike the flint that lights the potential already burning within you. Mythology teaches us to remain open, for these guides rarely announce themselves with fanfare. They arrive in disguise, often when we are most vulnerable. They might be the unassuming coworker who offers a piece of career-changing advice over coffee, the stranger on a bus who shares a story that reframes your entire problem, or the friend who asks the one question you have been afraid to ask yourself. Their wisdom is not always comfortable either. A true mentor challenges your assumptions and pushes you beyond your perceived limits. They appear when you have finally made the internal commitment to change, signaling that you are ready to receive the help you need. Think about your own life for a moment. Who has been an unexpected mentor for you? Was it a teacher who saw a talent you did not know you had, a grandparent whose simple story held a profound lesson, or even an author you have never met whose words found you at the perfect time? What single piece of their guidance altered the direction you were heading? With this new wisdom in hand, the path forward becomes clearer, but a formidable barrier always rises next, the first true test of your resolve. That moment of guidance crystallizes into a single defining choice. A massive, ornate gateway stands before you, its archway framing two entirely different worlds. On this side lies everything you know, every comfortable routine and safe assumption. On the other side stretches uncharted territory, shadowy and unknown. Every hero, once armed with wisdom, eventually faces this gateway. This is the third blueprint, crossing the first threshold, the irreversible step that seals your commitment to change. The Sumerian goddess Inanna did not merely take a long walk. She made the conscious decision to descend through the 7 gates of the underworld, surrendering her crown, her jewels, and her royal robes at each stage. She was willingly leaving her identity as a queen to become a vulnerable supplicant. The prophet Jonah, fleeing his divine calling, was swallowed by a great whale, an event that was not just a punishment but a profound threshold. Inside that dark, confined space, his old life was stripped away, forcing a confrontation with his purpose. The mythologist Mircea Eliade described these boundaries as sacred spaces where the profane world is transmuted into the transcendent. He meant that the act of crossing over itself contains an extraordinary, almost magical potential for transformation. It is in that liminal space, that doorway between who you were and who you will become, that the old self symbolically dies. This is not a physical death, but the necessary end of an outgrown ego, a set of limiting beliefs, or a comfortable but confining identity. Think of a caterpillar in its chrysalis, its entire being dissolving into primordial soup before reorganizing into a butterfly. There is no going back to being a caterpillar. The crossing is that point of no return. So what does your gateway look like? What comfort zone have you outgrown that now feels more like a prison than a sanctuary? Perhaps it is the belief that you are not creative, or the safety net of a job that no longer challenges you, or the familiar story you tell yourself about why you cannot pursue a certain dream. Crossing your threshold means consciously leaving those things behind. It might be marked by a symbolic ritual, something tangible that makes the internal shift feel real. It could be as simple as deleting a toxic social media app from your phone, finally signing up for that course you have been eyeing, or having the difficult conversation you have been avoiding for months. These acts are your personal rituals, your way of stepping through the archway and declaring to yourself that the old world is now behind you. This necessary departure is never easy, but it is the only way to reach the trials that forge a new you. And as you take that first step into unfamiliar territory, you quickly learn that the path is rarely a straight line. The gateway slams shut behind you, and the real work begins. This is the road of trials, the fourth blueprint where the hero is systematically broken down and rebuilt through a series of escalating challenges. Think of Hercules, the strongest man alive, confronted not by a single monster, but by 12 impossible labors. Each task targeted a different weakness, forcing him to rely on more than just brute strength. He had to use cleverness, patience, and even humility to clean the Arjuna stables or capture the elusive Cyrenian hind. His journey was not a straight path to glory, but a winding road designed to dismantle the arrogant warrior he was and forge the wise hero he would become. This pattern echoes across the world. In Chinese mythology, the rebellious monkey king, Sun Wukong, is tasked with escorting a monk on a perilous journey west. His trials are not just about battling demons, but about mastering his own impulsive nature and learning the discipline he so desperately lacked. The Polynesian demigod Maui did not simply find islands. He fished them up from the ocean depths, a monumental task requiring immense strength, cunning, and a touch of magic. These are not random misfortunes, they are a curriculum. The psychologist Carl Jung observed that there is no coming to consciousness without pain. He understood that these mythological trials are a metaphor for our own psychological growth. They force us to develop resources we never knew we possessed. A hero relying on physical strength will face a riddle that requires intellect. A hero proud of their intellect will meet a challenge that demands emotional vulnerability. The road of trials is a master teacher that identifies exactly what you lack and then places you in situations where you have no choice but to cultivate it. So how does this ancient blueprint apply to your life today? That recurring struggle at work, the one that feels like a labyrinth of office politics and shifting deadlines, what if it is your personal hydra, teaching you strategic thinking and patience? That financial hurdle that seems to reappear every few years, could it be your version of Hercules cleaning the stables, a messy but necessary task to build a new foundation of discipline and resourcefulness? The road of trials reframes adversity from something to be endured into something to be utilized. Every challenge is secretly a training ground, designed to build the specific competencies you need for the next stage of your reinvention. It is in the heat of these struggles that we forge the resilience, creativity, and emotional intelligence required to become someone new. And just when the weight of these trials feels overwhelming, a curious thing often happens on the mythological path. Help arrives from the most unexpected quarters. Even the mightiest hero, battered and tested on the road of trials, eventually finds a sanctuary. This is not a place of rest, but a space of profound reorientation. In the quiet heart of the forest, a luminous presence awaits. This is the fifth blueprint, the meeting with the goddess, the moment a hero learns to integrate the wisdom of the feminine. This goddess figure is not merely a love interest or a prize to be won. She is the embodiment of intuitive knowledge, deep compassion, and the creative power that gives birth to worlds. Consider the Hindu god Shiva, the ultimate ascetic, lost in solitary meditation for millennia. It was only through his union with the goddess Parvati, through her nurturing influence and unwavering devotion, that he transformed from a distant, destructive force into a complete deity, a benevolent father and a protector of the universe. Her energy balanced his raw, untamed power with love and connection. In Egyptian myth, when the god Osiris was murdered and dismembered, it was his sister wife Isis who used her vast magical knowledge and relentless love to gather his scattered pieces and breathe life back into him. She did not conquer through force, but through the power of reassembly and resurrection, a deeply creative and healing act. The mythologist Marija Gimbutas studied these ancient figures extensively, noting that they represented the unity of life in nature. They were symbols of a holistic world, where everything is interconnected, where intuition is as valued as intellect, and where creation is as powerful as conquest. This blueprint is about embracing that wholeness within ourselves. For centuries, our cultural stories have often glorified the masculine archetypes of action, logic, and decisive force. But the heroic sagas reveal a deeper truth. A hero who relies solely on these qualities remains incomplete, a blade without a hilt, dangerous to both others and themselves. True mastery, the kind that leads to lasting reinvention, arrives only when we balance our drive to achieve with the capacity to feel, to nurture, and to listen to the quiet voice of intuition. So what does this mean for your own journey of change? Perhaps you have been relentlessly focused on action, on pushing forward with sheer willpower. This fifth blueprint asks you to pause and consider what you might be overlooking. Are you undervaluing the power of receptivity, of allowing solutions to emerge rather than forcing them? Have you dismissed a gut feeling about a career move because it did not seem logical? Are you neglecting self-compassion in your drive to achieve a goal, burning out in the process? Integrating this feminine wisdom means actively cultivating these undervalued qualities. It could be as simple as setting aside time for quiet reflection instead of constant doing, learning to listen more deeply in your relationships, or trusting those inexplicable hunches that often prove to be correct. This is not about gender, but about energy. Every one of us, regardless of identity, contains both masculine and feminine principles. The meeting with the goddess is the internal moment when we welcome the part of us that knows how to heal, how to connect, and how to create from a place of wholeness instead of lack. It is the essential step that prepares you for the most difficult encounter of all, the one that waits in the darkest part of the forest, where you must finally meet the shadow you have been running from. The shadow you finally face is not a monster from the abyss, but a reflection of the very structures that have shaped you. This confrontation leads directly to the sixth blueprint, Atonement with the Father, a pivotal moment where the hero must reconcile with the ultimate figure of authority, law, and established order. This paternal force is not necessarily a literal father, but the symbolic embodiment of every rule, tradition, and societal expectation you have internalized. In Greek mythology, Zeus was a distant, often terrifying father figure to his many divine children. Yet for figures like Athena or Apollo, their heroism was not achieved by destroying him, but by earning his respect and finding their place within the cosmic order he governed. They learned to work with the system, not just rage against it. Similarly, in Shakespeare's King Lear, the daughters are trapped within a rigid patriarchal system of inheritance. Their struggle is not a simple rebellion, but a complex navigation of that paternal power, trying to find their own agency without being entirely consumed or destroyed by the king's flawed authority. The psychologist Robert Moore described this process as the development of the mature masculine, which involves channeling power responsibly rather than rejecting structure entirely. This is a crucial insight for anyone seeking lasting personal change. Rejecting all authority often leaves us chaotic and ungrounded, while blind obedience stifles our unique voice. The atonement is about finding the balance, learning to respect the wisdom within tradition while still making space for our own innovative thinking. So what does this ancient struggle look like in a modern life? Perhaps you are rebelling against the corporate ladder, seeing it as an oppressive paternal system. The atonement would not mean meekly climbing every rung, but understanding the value of structure, mentorship, and proven methods, then using that knowledge to forge your own path within or outside of it. Maybe the paternal voice is internal, a critical inner monologue repeating the expectations of a parent or teacher from your past. Making peace with this voice does not mean agreeing with every criticism, but acknowledging its origin and consciously choosing which of its lessons still serve you and which you can now release. This reconciliation is how you claim your own authority. It is the moment you stop seeing rules as chains and start understanding them as the banks of a river, which do not confine the water but give it direction and power. By making peace with the Father, you are not surrendering your individuality. You are integrating the strengths of tradition and structure so you can wield your own power with greater wisdom and responsibility. This hard-won balance prepares you for the most coveted prize in any heroic saga, a treasure that promises to transform not just your circumstances but your entire being. That reconciliation with authority creates a profound internal silence, a space where something entirely new can be born. The seventh blueprint is Apotheosis, the moment a hero's awareness shatters its old confines to grasp their true place within the vast tapestry of existence. This is not merely gaining new information, but undergoing a radical expansion of consciousness itself. The historical Buddha sat beneath the Bodhi tree, not as a prince or an ascetic, but as a man who had exhausted every path. In that stillness, he did not simply have a good idea, he experienced a fundamental rewiring of perception. He saw the interconnectedness of all suffering and the path to its end, transcending the illusion that he was a separate self navigating a hostile world. In Greek tradition, the god Dionysus was torn apart by titans and reborn, a violent metaphor for the complete dissolution of the ego required to access a higher state of being. Joseph Campbell called this expansion of consciousness the essential shift, where the hero dies to their old self and is reborn to a larger life. This apotheosis almost always follows a period of intense sacrifice. It is the reward for having willingly surrendered what you once believed was your core identity, your most cherished attachments, and your limited story about who you are. The hero realizes that these things were not the foundation of their being, but the walls of a very small room. What cherished identity are you clinging to that might actually be limiting your growth? Is it the story of being the responsible one, the free spirit, the perpetually wounded, or the relentless achiever? Apotheosis asks you to consider what might happen if you voluntarily let that story dissolve. In practical terms, this does not require a mountaintop retreat. It begins with simple practices that create cracks in your habitual perception. It could be the conscious act of spending time in nature without your phone, allowing the steady rhythm of the seasons to humble your personal dramas. It might be a daily meditation that creates a gap between you and your chattering thoughts, revealing that you are the awareness behind them, not the thoughts themselves. Or it could be immersing yourself in a piece of art or music so profound that it temporarily shatters your mental frameworks, giving you a fleeting taste of a reality beyond your daily concerns. These moments of expanded awareness are not an escape from life, but a homecoming to its true texture. They recontextualize your entire journey, transforming personal struggles from isolated battles into part of a universal human process. From this elevated vantage point, you are finally prepared to grasp the ultimate prize, the one object of the quest that holds the power to restore your world. That expanded awareness clears a space for the ultimate prize to arrive. The eighth blueprint is the ultimate boon, the moment a hero finally grasps the sacred object, the elixir, or the transcendent knowledge that was the entire purpose of their quest. This is not a simple trophy. In the legend of Jason and the Argonauts, the golden fleece was far more than a valuable pelt. It was the physical proof of his right to rule, a symbol of divine favor and legitimate authority he had risked everything to obtain. For the knights of Arthurian legend, the Holy Grail was not a fancy cup. It was a vessel of infinite grace and spiritual fulfillment that could heal a wounded king and restore a barren land. These mythological boons represent the core reward of a completed transformation. the integrated wisdom, the healed trauma, or the fully developed capability that now defines the hero. This blueprint asks a vital question. What is the unique gift your own struggles are forging within you right now? The sagas show us that different journeys yield different rewards. Some heroes, like the Norse god Odin, who sacrificed an eye for a drink from the well of wisdom, gain profound knowledge. Others, like the Celtic goddess Brigid, known for her mastery of healing, poetry, and smithcraft, develop multifaceted creative powers. Your personal reinvention will not produce a generic prize. The specific nature of your challenges is directly sculpting the specific nature of your gift. Are you navigating a period of financial instability? The boon may not be sudden wealth, but a deep, unshakable resourcefulness you can carry into every future endeavor. Are you healing from a painful relationship? The ultimate reward might be a hard-won understanding of your own boundaries and a newfound capacity for self-love that becomes the foundation for all future connections. The boon is the diamond formed under immense pressure, the unique strength that could only be born from your specific weakness. Claiming this gift requires a moment of conscious recognition. It is the internal shift where you stop seeing yourself as a victim of your circumstances and start acknowledging the powerful qualities those circumstances have forced you to cultivate. This is not about celebrating the pain, but about honoring the strength it revealed. So take a moment to reflect. Look back at the road of trials you have been walking. What quality have you developed that you did not possess before? Is it a deeper patience, a sharper intuition, a more resilient spirit, or a clarity about what truly matters to you? That is your ultimate boon, the treasure you have earned through every difficult step. And with that treasure now firmly in your grasp, a final, crucial responsibility descends, one that no true hero can ignore. But holding the ultimate boon creates a strange and unexpected tension. The ninth blueprint emerges from this stillness, the refusal of return, a profound hesitation to bring your transformed self back into the world you left behind. You have scaled the mountain and touched the sky, and the thought of descending back into the noisy, complicated village can feel like a betrayal of your hard-won peace. After the Buddha attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, legend says he wrestled with this very dilemma. He wondered if the profound truth he had realized could even be communicated in words, if anyone would understand, or if the effort would be worth the inevitable misunderstanding. He almost chose to remain in blissful solitude. This is the hero's final internal battle, the conflict between the serenity of personal attainment and the messy responsibility of sharing it. The Greek musician Orpheus experienced this in the most heartbreaking way. He had nearly achieved the impossible, leading his beloved Eurydice out of the underworld with the power of his song. The only condition was that he could not look back at her until they reached the surface, but in that liminal space between darkness and light, doubt and love warred within him. Was she really there? Had he truly succeeded? His glance backward was not just a broken rule, it was a refusal to fully complete the return, a subconscious choice that left his transformation tragically unshared. This mythological pattern reveals a deep psychological truth about our own reinventions. We fear that our new clarity will be diluted by old environments, that friends and family will not recognize or accept the person we have become. We worry that sharing our hard-won wisdom will make us vulnerable to criticism or, worse, indifference. So we are tempted to keep our growth a secret, to live a double life where our private enlightenment never has to face the test of public reality. What change have you recently made that you have been hesitant to share with others? Perhaps you have developed a new spiritual practice but avoid mentioning it to old friends for fear of seeming strange. Maybe you have overcome a deep-seated anxiety, yet you still act the part of the nervous person around your family because it is the role they expect. This refusal is a protective instinct, but it ultimately keeps your transformation incomplete. A boon that is not shared is like a seed that is never planted. It possesses potential but creates no forest. Overcoming this refusal requires a conscious decision that your journey is not just for you, but for the community you are a part of. It is the understanding that your personal reinvention is a piece of a larger puzzle, and by integrating your new self back into your old world, you become a catalyst for change far beyond yourself. This difficult return is the only way to make your private transformation truly meaningful, setting the stage for the final and most challenging phase of the entire heroic cycle. That hesitation to return shatters the moment you realize the boon is no longer just yours to protect. Forces that once seemed indifferent now actively oppose your reinvention. This is the 10th blueprint, the magic flight, the desperate, clever escape a hero must make with their treasure, pursued by guardians of the old order. When Prometheus defied the gods to steal fire for humanity, his theft was an act of profound innovation, but Zeus saw it as a threat to divine authority and punished him with eternal torment. The fire was the boon of knowledge and progress, and the gods were the systemic forces of control that resist such disruptive change. Similarly, when Jason secured the Golden Fleece, his real challenge began with the escape from Colchis, pursued by King Aeetes, who represented the established power structure unwilling to relinquish its most valuable asset. These flights are not cowardly retreats. They are strategic maneuvers to protect a fragile new reality from being crushed by a regressive past. The pattern echoes in the story of the Navajo hero twins who ventured into a monstrous world, slew the enemies threatening their people, and then had to execute a perilous journey home, using magical gifts to outwit the vengeful spirits that pursued them. Each of these narratives highlights a difficult truth. Your personal transformation will inevitably create friction with the people, institutions, and even the internalized voices that were comfortable with who you used to be. A family system might unconsciously pressure you back into old roles. A workplace culture may resist the new ideas and boundaries of an employee who has grown. Your own habits will stage a counter-revolution, trying to drag you back to the comfort of the familiar. The magic flight is your plan to navigate this backlash. So what form does your resistance take? Who or what acts as the guardian at the gate, demanding you return the treasure of your new self? It might be the friend who feels threatened by your newfound confidence and makes subtle, dismissive comments. It could be the corporate policy that penalizes unconventional thinking, or the internal critic that screams you are an imposter in this new role. Your escape requires both speed and cleverness. Speed means not getting bogged down in endless debates or justifications for your growth. You do not have to convince every critic. Cleverness means using the tools you gained on your road of trials, perhaps the patience to not react to provocation, or the intuition to know which battles are worth fighting. This is your magical flight plan, a conscious strategy to protect the nascent, transformed you long enough for it to take root and become unassailable. By successfully navigating this external pressure, you cross the final threshold, ready to perform the ultimate act of a true hero. Even the most brilliant escape plan can falter when your own strength gives out. The 11th blueprint, Rescue from Without, arrives at this precise moment of exhaustion, when the hero finds they cannot complete the final stage of their journey alone. This is the crucial act of accepting support during the most vulnerable phases of transformation. After his epic journey through the underworld, the Trojan hero Aeneas was not simply welcomed back with a feast. He was a man haunted, burdened by the visions of a future he had to build. It was his loyal comrades, his Aeneidae, who physically and emotionally carried him forward, reminding him of his purpose when his own resolve wavered. They were his rescue from without. In a different realm, Dorothy did not escape the enchanted poppy field in Oz through her own ingenuity. She had fallen into a deep, magical sleep, and it was the intervention of Glinda the Good Witch, sending the snow to counteract the poison, that saved her. The message is universal and humbling. Mythology consistently dismantles the modern myth of radical self-reliance, revealing that no transformation is truly sustainable if accomplished in total isolation. These rescue figures are not signs of weakness, but symbols of community, family, and the unexpected kindness that appears precisely when we are most open to receiving it. They represent the external network that complements our internal growth. So who comprises your support network for this period of reinvention? It might not be a single heroic figure, but a tapestry of different helpers. One friend might offer the practical rescue of a meal when you are overwhelmed, while another provides the emotional rescue of a listening ear without judgment. A mentor might rescue you from a circular problem with a single piece of clarifying advice. The key to this blueprint is not just having these people in your life, but developing the courage to be vulnerable enough to ask for their help and, more importantly, to accept it without shame. This requires surrendering the story that you must be the sole architect of your own salvation. It means sending the signal that you are ready to be supported. This act of receptive grace does not undo your heroic journey, it completes it. By allowing yourself to be helped across the final threshold, you integrate your personal transformation back into the human community, preparing for the ultimate return to a world that is about to be renewed by your presence. That final act of acceptance, allowing yourself to be helped, brings you to the last great barrier. You stand once more at a gateway, but this time the view is reversed. The 12th blueprint is the crossing of the return threshold, the delicate art of bringing your transformed self back into a world that has not changed. Odysseus, after 20 years of war and wandering, did not march triumphantly into his palace. He returned disguised as a ragged beggar, a strategic choice that allowed him to assess the new reality of his home without the baggage of his old kingly identity. He had to reintegrate slowly, learning the language of his own kingdom again before he could reclaim his throne. This is the core challenge of sustainable reinvention. How do you live with a new, expanded consciousness inside your old, familiar routines? The mythologist Carol Pearson framed this perfectly, explaining that the hero must translate the insights gained in the special world into the language of the ordinary world. You have learned a new dialect of the soul in your trials, and now you must find a way to speak it in your daily conversations, your work, and your relationships without causing confusion or rejection. The Arthurian legends offer a poignant parallel in The Wounded Fisher King. His kingdom lies barren, a wasteland mirroring his own spiritual sickness. His healing and the land's restoration depends on a questing knight bringing back the sacred waters or asking the right question. The return is not complete until the boon is applied, until the personal transformation begins to heal the surrounding community. This is why so many heroes return in disguise or with a phased plan. They understand that sudden, dramatic change can be threatening. Imagine you have spent a year developing profound inner peace through meditation and self-study. You cannot simply walk into a chaotic family dinner and demand everyone be silent and mindful. The translation of that peace might look like you listening more patiently, choosing not to react to a familiar provocation, or bringing a calm, grounding presence into the room without a single word of explanation. Your transformation is integrated through subtle action, not grand pronouncement. So what is your translation strategy? Perhaps your newfound confidence from overcoming a professional challenge does not mean immediately demanding a promotion. It might first appear as the quiet assurance in your voice during meetings, or the willingness to finally share an innovative idea you used to keep to yourself. The key is to identify the smallest, most tangible expressions of your internal change and introduce them gradually. This is how you become a master of two worlds, holding onto the wisdom of your journey while functioning effectively in your everyday life. You carry the map of the transcendent realm in your pocket as you walk the familiar streets of home, and this mastery leads directly to the final, crowning responsibility of the entire heroic cycle, the moment your private victory becomes a public blessing. That fluid movement between worlds becomes your new way of being. The 13th blueprint is master of two worlds, the art of balancing your transformed consciousness with the practical demands of daily life. This is not about living a double existence, but about achieving a profound integration where your inner wisdom informs your outer actions seamlessly. In the Bhagavad Gita, the warrior Arjuna stands paralyzed on the battlefield, his chariot positioned between two great armies. He is caught in a devastating moral crisis, torn between his duty as a warrior and his compassion for his kinsmen. His divine charioteer, Krishna, does not advise him to abandon the world and become a hermit. Instead, he guides Arjuna to act with skill and discipline, but from a place of detached wisdom, free from attachment to the fruits of his actions. He is to be in the world, but not entirely of its petty dramas and fears. Similarly, the prophet Moses ascends Mount Sinai to receive the divine law, a transcendent moment of direct communion with the sacred. Yet he does not remain on the mountaintop. He descends, carrying those holy commandments back to his people to establish a functional society in the wilderness. He becomes the bridge between the absolute and the relative, the visionary and the practical. These myths reveal that the ultimate goal of reinvention is not an escape from ordinary life, but a radically enhanced engagement with it. The master of two worlds learns to hold paradox without internal conflict. They can feel deep peace while navigating a stressful deadline. They can access boundless compassion while setting a firm boundary. They carry the quiet of the mountain within them while walking through the noisy marketplace. So how do you cultivate this dual citizenship in your own life? It begins with small, deliberate practices that tether your expanded awareness to your daily routines. This could be taking 3 conscious breaths before answering a difficult email, anchoring you in patience before you type. It might be a weekly ritual of walking in a park without headphones, allowing the natural world to recalibrate your senses and dissolve the week's accumulated stress. The practice is in the conscious shifting of gears, not in abandoning the vehicle. Your personal reinvention should not pull you away from your existing roles and relationships, but should pour new life into them. The newfound patience from your spiritual practice makes you a better parent. The creative confidence gained from overcoming a fear of public speaking infuses your team meetings with innovative energy. You are not trying to fit your old self into new clothes. You are allowing the new self to reanimate your old life with purpose and presence. This mastery is the final preparation for the ultimate purpose of any transformation, the moment you stop being a student of wisdom and start becoming a source of it for others. This freedom to balance two worlds naturally blossoms into a profound and effortless state of being. The 14th blueprint is the freedom to live, the ultimate goal of reinvention, where you are no longer haunted by the ghosts of the past or paralyzed by the fears of the future. You stand fully present in the current of your own life, engaged and responsive to whatever the moment brings. After his long and arduous quest for enlightenment, the Buddha did not retreat into a permanent trance. He became a teacher, walking from village to village, meeting people exactly where they were. He responded to questions from kings and farmers with the same attentive presence, his actions spontaneous and appropriate to each unique situation. This is the freedom of the Norse god Odin, who sacrificed his physical eye at the well of Mimir to gain an inner, visionary sight. He did not become a blind recluse, but a one-eyed king who could see the hidden patterns of destiny while still ruling the turbulent world of gods and men. Joseph Campbell described this state as living transparently to the transcendent, meaning the vast, timeless awareness you touched during your apotheoses now flows unimpeded through your everyday actions. You are not trying to be spiritual, you simply are fully human and fully awake at the same time. This liberated state is characterized by a handful of unmistakable qualities. Spontaneity replaces rigid planning as you trust your cultivated intuition to guide your responses. Gratitude becomes your default lens, allowing you to find value even in difficult moments. And your actions flow from a deep well of compassion because you no longer see others as separate from yourself. So what anxieties are currently fencing you out of your own present moment? Is it the replay of an old regret that colors your new interactions? Or is it the constant mental rehearsal for a future disaster that may never arrive? These thought patterns are the final barriers to the freedom to live. The practical application of this blueprint is a conscious, gentle return to the now. This does not require hours of cross-legged meditation, though that can help. It can be as simple as pausing to truly feel the warmth of a cup of tea in your hands, noticing the play of light on a wall, or listening to a friend's story without mentally composing your reply. Each time you anchor your awareness in a sensory experience, you are pulling yourself out of the phantom world of past and future and back into the only reality that exists, which is this one right here. This present moment awareness is what makes your transformation sustainable. It prevents you from falling back into autopilot, where old habits can easily reclaim their throne. From this place of grounded freedom, you begin to see your entire life not as a single, linear journey with a final destination, but as a series of overlapping cycles, each with its own departure, trials, and return. And this panoramic view prepares you for the next profound understanding that every ending is secretly a new kind of beginning. That panoramic view of overlapping journeys reveals a deeper pattern in the heroic landscape. The 15th blueprint is the cyclical journey, the recognition that personal reinvention is not a single, straight road with a final destination, but an ongoing, spiraling process where every ending nourishes a new beginning. Picture the ancient symbol of the Ouroboros, the serpent forever eating its own tail. This is not an image of futility, but of eternal renewal, a perfect loop where the energy of completion immediately fuels the next cycle of growth. This rhythm is echoed in the cosmic dance of the Hindu god Shiva, whose movements simultaneously create and dissolve entire universes in an endless, flowing cycle. It is mirrored in the story of the phoenix, the magnificent bird that periodically builds its own funeral pyre and is consumed by flames only to rise again, renewed and vibrant from its own ashes. The mythologist Michael Meade observed that the soul grows by cycles and spirals. He meant that our deepest transformations do not follow a neat, linear checklist, but move in these expansive loops, each one building upon the last, each completion offering a higher vantage point for the next departure. This cyclical nature is woven into the very fabric of world mythology. The Greek goddess Persephone's annual descent into the underworld and return to the surface did not happen just once. It established the eternal pattern of the seasons, a cycle of loss, introspection, and rebirth that repeats year after year. In Hindu cosmology, time itself moves in vast, repeating cycles called yugas, where the world ages and is renewed through periods of dawn, golden age, decline, and dissolution. These are not stories with final curtains, but with recurring acts. So what does this mean for your own path of change? It means releasing the pressure to find one perfect, permanent version of yourself. Your journey is more like a spiral staircase than a hallway. You may find yourself facing what seems like the same challenge again, a familiar fear or a recurring type of conflict. But if you look closely, you are not on the same floor. You are meeting that challenge from a higher level of understanding, with more resources and a broader perspective. The frustration of a recurring problem is often a sign that you are being given another chance to master a lesson from a new angle. The practical power of this blueprint lies in learning to identify where you are in your current cycle. Are you in a phase of departure, feeling that old, restless call to adventure? Are you deep in the road of trials, being tested and reshaped? Or are you in a phase of return, integrating your new wisdom back into your daily life? Recognizing your position grants you immense patience. You stop fighting the natural rhythm of your growth. You understand that a period of quiet gestation is not stagnation, but a necessary winter before the spring of new action. You learn to trust the timing of your own unfolding, knowing that just as the hero's journey never truly ends, your capacity for reinvention is a renewable resource, always ready to begin again from a place of greater wisdom. And this awareness of our own recurring patterns naturally draws our attention to the shadows that can block our progress, the hidden obstacles that every hero must eventually learn to face. A hero's greatest enemy is often the one wearing their own face. This confrontation with the dark double is the 16th blueprint, shadow integration, the essential process of embracing the rejected parts of yourself to achieve genuine wholeness. Every epic contains this moment of stark self-recognition. The Mesopotamian king Gilgamesh, in his arrogance and restless power, did not simply meet a wild man named Enkidu. He encountered his own untamed nature, his raw, instinctual self that civilization had forced him to repress. Their ferocious battle, ending not in death but in profound friendship, symbolizes the integration of that wild energy into his conscious being, transforming a tyrant into a true leader. Similarly, the Old English hero Beowulf did not just fight a monster in the marshes. Grendel was a shadow of exile and rage, a reflection of the very violence and otherness that the Mead Hall society both feared and secretly nurtured. His victory was not just over an external foe, but over the unacknowledged darkness within his own culture and, by extension, himself. The psychologist Carl Jung named this the shadow, that hidden part of our personality containing everything we refuse to acknowledge about ourselves, the traits we deem weak, shameful, or unacceptable. He argued that we do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This is not about indulging in negative behaviors, but about reclaiming the raw, untapped energy you have been using to keep those parts of yourself locked away. Look across the world's myths and you will find this pattern repeated, not with destruction but with necessary integration. In Egyptian mythology, Set is the god of chaos, violence, and storms, the perpetual antagonist to the order of Osiris and Horus. Yet he is not purely evil. He is a necessary force who defends the sun god Ras-Bark each night against the serpent of oblivion. His chaotic energy is essential to the balance of the cosmos, a destructive force that also protects creation. The Norse trickster Loki embodies this same principle. His cunning and deceit constantly disrupt the peace of Asgard, yet his cleverness often provides the very solutions the gods need to survive. When his mischief leads to the death of the beloved god Balder, it sets in motion Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, which is not merely an end but a necessary cleansing for a new world to be reborn. These myths teach a radical truth. The qualities we banish to the shadow do not disappear, they fester and gain a destructive power of their own, often erupting in ways we cannot control. The anger you refuse to feel curdles into passive-aggressive resentment. The creativity you label as frivolous manifests as a dull, persistent envy of others' achievements. The vulnerability you see as weakness becomes a rigid, impenetrable wall that isolates you from genuine connection. So what parts of yourself have you exiled? What trait do you criticize most harshly in other people? That very criticism is often a clear signal of a disowned part of your own shadow. The loud critic of laziness in others may be wrestling with their own repressed need for rest. The person who scorns flamboyant expression might be silencing their own inner artist. Shadow integration begins with compassionate curiosity, not self-condemnation. It asks, what is the positive intention behind this rejected quality? Your greed might be a distorted form of a healthy desire for security and abundance. Your envy could be a misguided signal pointing toward a genuine, unfulfilled ambition. The practice is to find a conscious, mature channel for this locked-away energy. Allow your repressed assertiveness to be expressed as clear, firm boundaries. Let your hidden sensitivity flow out as deeper empathy in your relationships. Transform your stubbornness into unwavering perseverance for a meaningful goal. This is how you reclaim your full power, not by being a perfect, one-dimensional hero, but by becoming a complete, multifaceted human. By making peace with the enemy within, you dissolve the internal civil war that drains your vitality, freeing up immense energy for your ongoing reinvention and preparing you to understand the timeless archetypes that give shape to every heroic journey. These fundamental patterns of human potential wear countless masks across the world's stories. The 17th blueprint is Archetypal Navigation, the skill of recognizing the universal characters that shape our inner world and learning to consciously partner with their energy. Think of your psyche as a stage, and these archetypes as the core actors who take turns in the spotlight, each with a unique script for how to face life's challenges. The warrior archetype, found in figures like the Norse Valkyries or the Hindu goddess Durga, embodies disciplined action, courage, and the will to protect what matters. The sage, represented by Merlin in his tower, or the Greek titan Prometheus with his stolen fire, seeks truth and wisdom above all else. The lover, epitomized by deities like Aphrodite or the Celtic Ingus Og, drives our capacity for passion, connection, and deep appreciation of beauty. And the magician, seen in the shaman who traverses worlds or the alchemist who transforms lead into gold, understands the hidden laws of reality and works to create change. These are not just characters in old books, they are living currents of energy within you, each one a different facet of your complete human potential. The psychologist Carl Jung proposed that these archetypes are part of our collective unconscious, a shared psychic inheritance that shapes how we experience the world. He suggested that we do not invent these figures, we encounter them, and our personal journey is largely defined by which ones we identify with and which we ignore. A crisis often occurs when we are overly identified with a single archetype, like a warrior who only knows how to fight, or a lover who cannot set a boundary. True reinvention involves learning to call upon the right energy for the right situation, like a wise director casting the perfect actor for each scene. So how do you know which archetypes are active in your life right now? Your current phase of reinvention offers a major clue. When you are at a new beginning, full of optimism and trust, the innocent archetype is often center stage. When you experience a painful disillusionment or loss, the orphan archetype emerges, teaching you about realism and resilience through its feeling of exile. When you are searching for your own path and answers, the wanderer archetype takes the lead, pushing you to explore and question everything. And when you are in the heart of a profound transformation, altering your very identity, the magician archetype awakens, granting you the power to reshape your reality. To work with this blueprint, start by asking a simple but powerful question. Which mythological figure or energy best describes how I have been showing up lately? If you are constantly battling through obstacles with sheer force of will, you might be channeling the warrior. If you are lost in research, seeking the one perfect answer before you can act, the sage may be dominating your stage. The goal is not to judge an archetype as good or bad, but to recognize its influence and consciously decide if it is serving you. If the warrior's constant battle is leading to burnout, perhaps it is time to invite the lover to remind you of joy, or the magician to find a more clever solution that does not require a fight. This is how you move from being a puppet of these unconscious patterns to becoming the conscious director of your own inner cast. By learning to navigate these universal energies, you gain a powerful lens for understanding not only your own transformation, but the deeper symbolic language that mythology uses to encode its most profound secrets. That cast of inner archetypes speaks a language older than words. The 18th blueprint is symbolic literacy, the art of reading mythological stories not as literal accounts of ancient events, but as coded instructions for psychological and spiritual development. Every dragon, every labyrinth, every sacred mountain is a precise symbol waiting to be decoded. The mythologist Wendy Doniger observed that myths are stories about the ways in which the human mind can model the paradoxes of the universe. They are not primitive science, but sophisticated cognitive tools designed to help us navigate the complex terrain of transformation. When a hero slays a dragon, they are not just eliminating a monster. They are confronting a massive, fire-breathing symbol of their own repressed emotions, their untamed fears, or their coiled, destructive anger. The act of slaying is the conscious process of facing and integrating that chaotic energy. When Theseus enters the labyrinth to find the Minotaur, he is navigating a symbolic map of a complex psychological process, perhaps the tangled maze of a deep-seated trauma or the intricate puzzle of a moral dilemma. The ball of thread given to him by Ariadne represents the intuitive thread we must follow to find our way back to clarity. This symbolic language is universal. Across cultures, sacred mountains consistently represent a higher state of consciousness, a peak of awareness we must struggle to ascend. Talking animals often embody our instinctual nature or intuitive wisdom, the parts of ourselves that know things our rational mind has forgotten. Magical weapons are symbols of our unique, focused will, the specific talent or skill we must learn to wield with precision. Forbidden fruits represent the necessary knowledge or experience we must gain, even if it shatters our previous state of innocence. This literacy transforms how you read your own life. What dragon is currently guarding a treasure you seek? That difficult colleague or recurring financial worry might be the symbolic dragon in your path, not to be hated, but to be understood as a representation of an internal challenge you are being called to face. Are you walking a labyrinth right now, feeling lost in the twists and turns of a complex project or a relationship? Recognizing it as a labyrinth changes your approach. You stop trying to bulldoze through the walls and instead begin looking for your Ariadne's thread, that one consistent practice or piece of wisdom that will guide you to the center. Developing this symbolic literacy is a practice. Start by asking a simple question about any persistent challenge in your life. If this situation were a scene in a myth, what would the key symbol be? Is there a threshold you are afraid to cross, a magical aid you have been refusing to accept? A riddle you need to solve. This reframing does not make the problem disappear, but it gives you a new, more powerful language to work with it. It connects your personal struggle to a universal pattern, making you feel less alone and more like a hero on a well-mapped, albeit difficult, journey. This ability to decode the symbolic layer of reality prepares you to take the final, most practical step, translating these ancient blueprints into a modern psychological framework you can use every single day. Our symbolic literacy finds its ultimate purpose when it bridges the ancient and the modern. The 19th blueprint is psychological translation, the practice of mapping mythological patterns directly onto the operating system of our contemporary minds. Imagine seeing a transparent overlay where the hero's journey aligns perfectly with our understanding of neural plasticity, the brain's remarkable ability to rewire itself through new experiences. Each threshold crossing, each road of trials, is a neural pathway being forged through deliberate, often difficult, action. When a saga describes a hero receiving a magical boon, psychology might frame this as post-traumatic growth, the documented phenomenon where individuals develop profound strength, deeper relationships, and a renewed appreciation for life after navigating adversity. The entire process of the return, of integrating a transformed self back into a familiar world, mirrors the final stage of many therapeutic processes, where insights gained in a therapist's office are gradually woven into the fabric of daily life. The psychologist James Hillman proposed that mythology is the psychology of antiquity. He was not saying these stories are primitive. He meant they are a sophisticated, narrative-based model of the human psyche, developed long before we had the clinical language of ego, trauma, and integration. The trials that Hercules faced are a mythological blueprint for what we now call resilience building. Each labor was a controlled exposure to immense stress, systematically building his capacity to handle greater challenges, much like how we build emotional resilience by gradually facing our fears rather than avoiding them. The ultimate boon, the treasure he earned, is the psychological payoff of that resilience, a core self-esteem that is not dependent on external validation because it has been forged in the fires of direct experience. So how do you apply this translation in your own life? Start by viewing your current psychological challenge through a mythological lens. That anxiety you feel about public speaking, could it be the dragon guarding the treasure of your authentic voice? The process of carefully preparing, practicing, and finally delivering the speech is your road of trials, actively rewiring the neural circuits that associate speaking with danger. The confidence you feel afterward is not just relief, it is the psychological boon, the proof of your own expanded capabilities. This translation does not dismiss modern psychology, it enriches it. It gives you a story to live by, a heroic context for your personal struggles that transforms them from random suffering into meaningful initiation. By understanding that your journey has a timeless structure, you can face it with more patience and purpose. This act of translation is the final preparation, the moment you stop just understanding the blueprints and start using them to construct a deliberate, personal ritual for your own continuous reinvention. That psychological translation needs a physical anchor in our world. The 20th blueprint is ritual creation, the deliberate design of personal ceremonies to consciously mark the turning points in your reinvention. Across time, humanity has understood that profound internal shifts require external expression, a sacred theater where the invisible becomes visible. Native American vision quests involved days of solitary fasting in the wilderness, a ritual designed to strip away the old self and invite a guiding vision for the future. In ancient Greece, the Eleusinian mysteries were elaborate, secret rites that promised initiates a profound spiritual rebirth through a powerful, multi-sensory experience of the story of Demeter and Persephone. These were not random traditions, they were carefully engineered containers for change. The anthropologist Victor Turner studied this phenomenon across cultures, identifying the ritual space as a liminal zone, a threshold where you are betwixt and between your old identity and your new one. In this sacred in-between, freed from the usual rules and roles of daily life, the impossible becomes possible. Your own transformation needs these liminal spaces. A ritual carves one out for you. Think of the berserker rituals of Scandinavian warriors who would work themselves into an ecstatic trance through chanting and drumming before battle. This was not mere frenzy, it was a conscious ritual to cross a psychological threshold, to become someone else entirely for a time, someone without fear or hesitation. Contrast this with the serene focus of a Hindu puja, a daily ritual of offering light, flowers, and incense to a deity. This repetitive, symbolic act is not about appeasing a god, but about creating a daily anchor of gratitude and devotion. A small but potent ritual that reaffirms one's place in a sacred cosmos. The power lies in the structure itself, the symbolism you choose, whether it is lighting a candle to represent new clarity or burying a written list of old fears to signify their release, gives a tangible form to your internal process. The repetition of the ritual, whether done daily or once at a major milestone, carves the new neural pathways of your transformed identity. The creation of a sacred space, even if it is just a quiet corner of a room, signals to your subconscious that something important is happening here, something separate from the mundane flow of time. So how can you begin to design your own rituals? Start with a significant moment in your current reinvention. Is there a limiting belief you are ready to release? Write it down on a piece of paper and safely burn it in a fireproof bowl, watching the smoke carry that story away from you. Are you stepping into a new role or responsibility? Create a simple ceremony where you articulate a vow to yourself, perhaps while holding an object that symbolizes the qualities you wish to embody, like a stone for stability or a feather for lightness. The elements do not need to be elaborate, but they must be meaningful to you. This conscious act of ritual creation does not just commemorate change, it actively facilitates it. By physically enacting your transformation, you are convincing every part of your being, from your rational mind to your deepest instincts, that the shift is real. This ritual awareness, this understanding that we can architect our own rites of passage, completes our toolkit of ancient strategies, leaving just one final question. How do we bring all of these timeless blueprints to bear on the uniquely complex challenges of our modern world? These ancient blueprints do not belong to a museum, but to the messy reality of our daily lives. The 21st and final blueprint is modern application, where these timeless patterns become your personal toolkit for navigating contemporary crises. Imagine a man facing a sudden, unexpected career transition after 2 dedicated decades in one industry. The initial shock mirrors the hero's departure, a call to adventure he never wanted. He could spiral into despair, or he could consciously invoke the blueprint of the phoenix. He begins to see this not as a termination, but as a sacred fire, an opportunity to burn away an outgrown professional identity and rise from the ashes with a new, more authentic career built from his core strengths. He uses the period of unemployment not for panic, but for the road of trials, systematically upskilling and networking, treating each rejected application not as a failure but as a test of his resolve. His ultimate boon is not just a new job, but a reclaimed sense of agency and a broader, more resilient professional identity. Or consider a woman navigating the painful fragmentation of a long-term relationship ending. She feels pulled apart, lost in a labyrinth of grief and what-ifs. Instead of resisting this feeling, she turns to the story of Isis and Osiris. She begins the slow, patient work of gathering her scattered pieces, the parts of her self-esteem, her hobbies, and her social life that were tied to the relationship. This is not a quick fix, but a ritual of reassembly where each piece she reclaims, each new boundary she sets, is a victory. She is not trying to resurrect the past, but to become a new, whole person from the fragments, guided by a myth about the power of devoted self-reclamation. Even the relentless pace of the digital age, with its constant demands on our attention, can be addressed mythologically. The feeling of being pulled in a dozen directions, of having no unified center, is a modern form of dismemberment. Here, the blueprint of Odin's sacrifice becomes powerfully relevant. He gave his physical eye for a drink from the well of wisdom, a trade of immediate, surface-level perception for profound, inner sight. Your modern application might be a conscious sacrifice of something that feels vital, like an hour of nightly scrolling, to gain the deeper wisdom that comes from quiet reflection, reading, or learning a new skill. It is a strategic trade of a lower-value distraction for a higher-value insight. So which of these 21 blueprints speaks most directly to the challenge you are facing right now? If you are standing at a threshold, afraid to commit to a new path, the story of Inanna's descent offers a model for willingly surrendering your old titles and comforts. If you are locked in a battle with a stubborn, internal critic, the tale of Gilgamesh and Enkidu provides a framework for making friends with your own shadow. The power is not in merely knowing these stories, but in actively asking which one is your story today. Your action step is to choose one single blueprint and design a small, concrete ritual around it this week. If your theme is the magic flight, your action might be to finally delete the apps or unsubscribe from the newsletters that represent the old order chasing you. If it is the meeting with the goddess, your step could be to schedule an hour for pure, intuitive creation, whether that is writing, dancing, or gardening, with no goal other than to connect with that nurturing, creative energy within. You now hold a complete map, not to a hidden treasure, but to the hero you are always in the process of becoming. These 21 ancient blueprints are a living tradition, waiting for you to pick up the tools and continue the work of your own endless, glorious reinvention. These 21 blueprints are not isolated instructions, but interconnected threads in a grand tapestry of human transformation. Each pattern reinforces and complements the others, creating a complete ecosystem for personal reinvention. Much like the deities in a pantheon, each represent a vital aspect of a unified human experience. The call to adventure naturally summons the mentor. The mentor's wisdom gives you the courage to cross the threshold, and crossing that threshold immediately places you on the road of trials. These are not separate events, but a single, flowing process. The meeting with the goddess prepares you for the atonement with the Father, balancing intuitive wisdom with structured authority. And that hard-won balance is what makes the Apotheosis, the ultimate expansion of consciousness, even possible. This is a sophisticated technology for human development, a psychological operating system coded in narrative form. Its relevance is not accidental. It is enduring because it maps directly onto the fundamental architecture of how we grow and change. The true power emerges when you stop seeing these as 21 separate steps and start seeing them as a dynamic, interactive system. Your personal mythology is not built by blindly following a checklist, but by consciously selecting which blueprints resonate most strongly with your current journey and understanding how they interact. Perhaps you are in a phase dominated by the cyclical journey, recognizing the same core lesson appearing in different forms, which then activates your need for shadow integration to finally break the pattern. Or maybe your ultimate boon, a newfound creative confidence, is currently being challenged by the magic flight, as old habits and skeptical voices try to reclaim the treasure of your transformed self. This framework provides guidance for every phase of your evolution, from the first whisper of discontent to the final responsibility of sharing your wisdom. It helps you diagnose where you are stuck. Are you refusing the call, or are you refusing the return? Are you battling external enemies, or are you avoiding the internal meeting with your own shadow? By understanding the entire ecosystem, you can identify which part of the process needs your attention and which archetypal energy you need to invoke. This synthesis demonstrates that mythology offers us not a random collection of tales, but a living, breathing guide for weaving ancient wisdom into the very fabric of our modern identity. It prepares us to see our lives not as a series of random accidents, but as a heroic saga in the making, where every challenge is an invitation to pick up another thread and continue the beautiful, never-ending work of weaving ourselves into being. These 21 blueprints reveal that heroic sagas are more than entertainment. They are a deeply encoded survival guide for the human soul navigating change. We have walked a path from that first whisper of discontent to the final responsibility of sharing our hard-won wisdom, discovering that these ancient patterns are not relics, but living frameworks for anyone feeling the ache for something more. They teach us to recognize the call to adventure hidden in a career crisis, to welcome mentors in unexpected places, and to see our greatest trials not as punishments, but as a sacred curriculum designed to forge our strongest selves. The ultimate goal is not to escape your life, but to master the art of living within it with more courage, compassion, and consciousness. True personal reinvention is never about erasing who you were to become someone else. It is the profound and gradual process of uncovering the authentic self that was always there, waiting beneath the layers of expectation and habit. Just as a mythological hero like King Arthur had to pull the sword from the stone to claim his birthright, your journey is about pulling your true nature from the stone of circumstance, discovering the strength and sovereignty that were your inheritance all along. So as this exploration closes, I leave you with a single question. Which one of these 21 blueprints echoes most strongly in your life right now? Is it the call to adventure, inviting you to finally start that project or leave that draining situation? Is it the meeting with the goddess, asking you to balance your drive with more intuition and self-compassion? Or is it the magic flight, demanding a clever strategy to protect your newfound growth from old pressures? Carry that one blueprint with you into the coming days. Let it be your lens and your guide. If this journey through mythological wisdom has sparked a new perspective on your own path, you do not have to walk it alone. Consider joining our community of modern myth makers by subscribing, where we continue to bridge the timeless insights of the past with the creative challenges of the present. May your own saga be rich with discovery, and may you always remember that the heroes of old are not distant legends, but fellow travelers whose maps you now hold in your